Welcome to Power Hour, where the editors of Powersports Business interview the movers and shakers of the industry. This episode is brought to you by Synchrony. Okay, hi everybody. It's Brendan Baker, Powersports Business, with another edition of Power Hour. And today we have Jeff Dyke as the president of Sonic Powersports, right, in South Dakota, Sturgis. Are you in Sturgis or are you somewhere else? Where's your headquarters?
Yeah, so our headquarters, I'm actually president of Sonic Automotive, which owns
Okay.
Echo Park Automotive and Sonic Powersports. And our headquarters is in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You're the big cheese then. You're
Yeah. Sometimes I don't feel that way.
I know. For some reason, being the big cheese doesn't. It's
it's not all that
it's great as it sounds.
No, it's not.
But okay, so you're in North Carolina and
Correct.
Sonic Automotive. How many locations? Overall, how many dealerships do you own, and then how many Powersports dealerships?
Yeah, so we have over 110 auto retail stores. We have 18 Echo Park stores, which is our big pre-owned CarMax, Carvana type location. And then we've got the Mancuso stores in Houston from a Powersports perspective. We have Motorcycles of Charlotte, 2 stores over here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then, of course, we have the 6 locations in Black Hills. So very exciting times for us. We've been in the Powersports business now just a handful of years. So we just had our 3rd Sturgis event, which was just amazing and set all-time records. We sold 1,105 motorcycles there in those for the event for the rally.
Incredible.
So very exciting.
That's incredible. I mean, 1,100 motorcycles. Some guys are not hitting that in their whole year.
Right. Right.
What do you think? I mean, so I've heard, what I've read about it is Sturgis had a great attendance this year, which was kind of contrary to a lot of, idiots like me who think they know stuff. You think, oh, well, it's a soft year, blah, blah, blah. Attendance won't be that great at Sturgis. And boom, here we are. It's a great attendance, a lot of bikes you guys sold. Was there a secret to the success of that?
First of all, it's the 85th rally, and sort of every 5th year, the rally tends to be bigger. And so, the numbers I've seen, around 800,000 people were at the rally. I think last year we had over 500, maybe 550,000. And when you think about it, if you think about the number of bikes we sold 1,105 new and pre-owned Harley-Davidsons. You think about it, you think, well, that's a lot of bikes. Our previous record was 716 several years ago, I think for the 80th. And how did you do that? And wow, that's a lot. But when it comes to 1,100 bikes with 800,000 people, it's not, as a percentage, you're less than 0.1%. So, there are some things I think that we did to really beat the record, and what I think we'll do next year, to surpass what we did this year. And process, technology, pricing, merchandising, the bikes, the way that we attack the new and pre-owned vehicle side of the world, we brought to Sturgis, and I think that made a very big difference. And one of the big things is in the auto retail world, we sell 2-to-1, over 2-to-1 used to new. But in the Powersports world, it's 3-to-1, new to used. And and that doesn't compute with us. It makes no sense. There are more pre-owned vehicles out there than there are new vehicles, and there are more pre-owned buyers than there are new buyers. If you think about auto retail, there are 45 million pre-owned cars sold a year in the United States to 15 million new cars. Yeah. And so the issue is that the industry as a whole hasn't really paid a whole lot of attention to selling pre-owned powersports. It's just not something that the technology is not in the stores. Consumers don't know they can bring a trade in and trade. That just doesn't compute. And we brought that to the table. We've now, on a year-to-date basis, we're getting closer and closer to 1-to-1. But I think in the coming couple of years, you'll see us selling 2-to-1. That doesn't mean we're selling less new. It just means we're selling more of everything, and
pre-owned level.
Yeah, and we're tapping into the potential of the pre-owned market, which just really hasn't been tapped into in the power sports world.
No, it is a hidden gem, although it's one of those things where they say the if pre-owned, because pre-owned has spiked, especially in some of the softer demand parts of the early part of the year, and just pre-owned has been, but a lot of dealers, you're right, they don't tap into it. They're not necessarily understanding it. You know, we've got a few guys that do really well with it, but as an overall, there's a lot to be learned into. And we just did a piece on like lessons from automotive dealers that power sports dealers can use. I think that's one of the things, and a lot of it is also processes.
It is the processes, the technology, pre-owned, the reconditioning process, which, and having technicians that actually are focused on that. But if you look, I mean, this is really our first solid year of, power sports sales with processes in place and technology. On a year-to-date basis, our pre-owned volume's up 63% year over year, and our new business is up 24% year over year. But the last couple of months, our pre-owned business is up 80% as things begin to solidify. And, with Sturgis, our new business is way up in the 30-40% range. So, it is, I think it's important, for all listeners, the opportunity lies in lessons learned for us from what we did on auto retail side some 25, 30 years ago. And that's great experience for the consumer. Speed and efficiency is incredibly important. So, I was told years ago by an individual, Jeff, we're never going to sell, cars on iPads. And of course, now all our dealers, everybody does that. And people think that that's just not going to happen, in the power sports world, and they're wrong. We sold and are selling in Houston at our Mancuso platform now. We had one individual sales associate at Sturgis with the iPad, and she just rolled and did an amazing job. And so bringing that technology and the process and the experience make a big difference. And it'll make a big difference for future riders because, as you know, consumer shoppers are changing by the hour now,
Absolutely. It's a constant evolution of the buyer. The buyer is becoming much more, digital savvy and comfortable buying, products on, I think that's one of the benefits of going through COVID. Like it forced all these people to, benefits are, some people would argue not a benefit. I think there's
we learned a ton during COVID. I mean, sorry we had to go through it. But our average sales associate on the retail side was industry leading volume, was selling 11 units per sales associate per month, and now 18. So we know that technology, I can get a lot more done with fewer people. And we know that technology can make a big difference in that. And we know the consumer wants to shop differently. And power sports is no different than auto retail in that from that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's, a lot of people want to think, oh, power sports is so different. And it is to some degree, as far as like the type of consumer. You
have to have a car. You don't have to have a motorcycle, right?
But as far as the processes go and what you guys have done, CRM and dealing with customer service, customer experience, all that, very similar. It's the same.
It's the same. I mean, we're taking our technology from auto retail and putting it in power sports, and it's working just fine, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. So, and I think, from what I've read, it seems like the second half of the year is picking up, it's so.
I mean, August was fantastic.
Yeah.
We were up 28% in new and 78% in pre-owned, and September starting out the same way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that I just see nothing but upside. And the world tends to get caught up in the tariffs and whether something happened to CDK and you had cyber attacks and there's, COVID, and there's one thing after another these days. We try to just like put on our noise muffs and put our helmets on and tune all that out, and pay attention to the basics. And really execute at a high level, implementing our playbooks and our processes and our technology, and taking great care of the customer and our teammates. And as a result, To us, that's the magic dust that you sprinkle, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right in that, that you can get caught up in the minutia of every little setback, every little, world
The
crisis
world
or
is ending.
whatever happens.
Right.
And, people can blame that, it's a good excuse mechanism for stuff, I think a lot of times, but in the bottom line, if you focus on those basics and the blocking and tackling, people are still buying vehicles. They're buying motorcycles. They're buying UTVs and side by sides, and they're buying cars.
There's
they're
just no question. And that, you know, we had historic results at Black Hills, right? I mean, historic.
yeah,
And I mean, if you look at the Sturgis store, its first year of operation outsold the rally in Orlando. I mean, it's just one key point. But if you just watch it all, there are plenty of customers. They're out buying. You just have to put them in a position to buy, though, and offer them a great experience when you do that, and the product. And Harley-Davidson did an amazing job, getting us inventory. Even when we started running out of inventory, they helped supply inventory, which was great, and kept us rolling. And had we had more inventory, we would have sold more bikes. We'd have sold way more than 1,100. So the business is there. We ran out of bikes.
That's kind of a catch-22 in the fact that everyone's like worried about their inventory levels and keep, don't want to. And then you get into an event like this when you really could use a lot more inventory, and you're like, But
yeah, I mean, we're fortunate as a company to be a very large organization, and I can afford to carry some inventory, maybe longer than some of the others can.
Yeah.
And we can move the inventory around, and we can cross merchandise. It's great for me to walk into one of our Echo Park stores, and I have some pre-owned Powersports product on my showroom floor, and I'm cross merchandising in the same market area where the stores are across the street from each other. Or I've got a big Ford pickup truck, with a 4x4 or four-wheeler sitting in the bed of the truck at my Powersports store.
And then you can buy them both.
They can buy both. Exactly. Yeah. And so we're really starting to take our customer list, combine them, and cross merchandise using our Salesforce tools to help the consumer know that you can get a great experience and a great deal, at our franchise stores, our Echo Park stores, or our Powersports stores, doesn't matter. And you can buy both.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, and going back to Sturgis, so Black Hills, or you've owned Black Hills Harley-Davidson for a while, right? For a few years.
A little over 3 years, yes.
And then you get Sturgis Harley-Davidson. So if you were able to if you're running out of inventory or something, are you able to shift inventory between stores a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So that's what we did. We took inventory from our Texas stores and moved up there for the rally as well. So I could move inventory around. But I had trucks just going back and forth, moving inventory. We traded for almost 700 motorcycles, of which 150 of those were non-Harleys, or metric bikes, if you will. And so we're moving those around to our other locations. And so I've got plenty of pre-owned inventory to certainly last through the winter months up north, but to supply for the winter months down south, when a lot of riders are out, buying bikes for Christmas and the holidays. Yeah. And so it makes it really nice when you have multiple locations and you could start moving inventory around to all the stores.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a enviable position to be in, to be able to have, to be able to have that, like, we can move. And so how much, obviously Sturgis, that's a, 85th year, that's a huge event. Do you pay attention to all these little, you got Biketoberfest or something like that, or you've got some maybe local event you're looking at, like, do you look at, maybe we need to shove some more inventory this way because of
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we have now about 680 pre-owned bikes up at Sturgis today. I'm going to recon those throughout the winter months, and I'll sporadically send that out to different locations where we've got a promotion, something's going on, Horny Toad in Temple, Texas, or down in Houston at the Mancuso stores. So we'll help supply inventory. And then Harley's been, amazing, right? They were very smart. We sat down and started talking to them, and I had a question for them. I said, this is the Sturgis Rally, and we have this store in Sturgis, but we can't sell motorcycles. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why don't we have, well, they said, well, you have a store that's, 10 miles down the road. I said, yeah, but this is where the fish are. There's an old saying, fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
This is Mecca. And so sure as heck, we opened up and a little under 300 new bikes were sold. And so, yay, we're very excited about having, the facility there. And what we'll do, we sold, gosh, I think we downsized all the way to about 80 some odd new bikes after all the bikes we got, the whole 9 yards. And so we'll keep those throughout the winter months. That'll be enough to supply us, because really, starting next month, that thing shuts down.
It's a lot slower.
I'm actually going to start putting some pre-owned trucks and things like that on the lot to see if I can't spur up some sales, in other ways. But for sure, as that begins to slow, our other markets begin to pick up. And this is, you were talking about earlier, gosh, you're lucky. We are. It's a blessing, because I can start moving bikes around, both new and used. And Harley has been very supportive of that. They've done a great job in supplying us. And now it's our job between now and the end of the year to get up to, to Harley and to sit down with their headquarters and talk about, look, yeah, we had a great show. It was an amazing rally. We could have sold more, man. We could have sold 2,000 bikes. And we're all in the business of selling motorcycles. Let's figure out a way to supply us more motorcycles when we get to next year's rally. Because if you just do the math, and this is what I was doing with Black Hills team when we first bought them. I was like, look, I'm proud. You guys are all excited about selling 700 bikes. There's 500,000 customers here.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. How about we sell 1% and sell 5,000 bikes? Well, we could never get the inventory. Sure, we can. I promise you, Harley-Davidson wants to sell motorcycles. And if they can find a spot to sell 5,000 motorcycles in 15 days, they're going to do it. And somebody's going to have some common sense and wake up and smell the coffee. The opportunity is there. We just need to supply the inventory and have the technology. It's one thing to sell 500 motorcycles in a 10-day span. It's another thing to sell 1,100. We couldn't have done that without the technology that we put in place to handle trades. Just the process, it wouldn't have worked. Now we need to bring more technology.
It's not like it's not like you're going in to buy even a phone. A phone, hell, that takes long enough as it is. But to buy a TV or something, you can. You got to go through, there's a lot of processes and compliance things you have to go. So to be able to do that and to get a trade and to work the financing and do all that all in that short period of time, I think is incredible. But, like I said, you probably do more.
We could do a lot more. I mean, we're averaging, last year it took us about an hour to do a trade evaluation on average across the whole thing. This year was less than 6 minutes. And so how do you do that? Well, I've got an iPad, and I put that in the hands of all my salespeople, and they can run out and automatically through our system, appraise a vehicle. I don't have to wait on some manager to come tell me what the vehicle's worth. I have a trade center, and we put the numbers on the bikes, and we go forward. Now, do we miss some bikes? Sure, but so do used bike managers do that all the time, right? And so, there's it's 1% positive, negative, either way. My goal is to create an environment for the consumer that they can come in and efficiently, buy the product that they're looking for, have a great experience, and not have to wait around forever to get something done. They want to get out on the road, go collect their coins and have a great time. And last thing they want to do is, once they've made their decision, see, from our perspective, when they're making their decision, they're on their time. Take your time, but once they've made the decision, they want to go. And it's my job to put them in position to go. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. So you've cut down that time using the technology and the things you've got, in place that you can, once they've honed in and that's what they want, and they're going to trade you can cut that time down to getting out the door with their bike. And
yes, and what will be great is next year at the rally, every salesperson that's there will be selling motorcycles off their iPads. We tested it this year just to make sure, and we've been already using it in Houston. But next year, everybody will be selling off their iPads, so there won't be a finance office or a desk and all that stuff that you have to go back and forth between. Just do it all right off their iPad, and away we go.
yeah,
And we do that at our Echo Park, in our Echo Park business. They run. These are big stores. We average 450 cars a month per rooftop, and some of our stores are doing 1,000 cars a month. And
wow.
and they run huge back end margin, no F&I department, right? And they everything's good. We're one price, so we don't have to negotiate. That's the
Yeah,
other thing we've learned. There was just a lot of pricing innuendos, if you will. And we've seen that throughout the industry as we've studied pricing. And one of the things that consumers want, they're so smart, you've got to be able to put the right price on the right bike at the right time, and you can't overcharge for it. Whether you're at Sturgis and it's a one time a year event,
right.
or you're down in Houston or you're at
They'll
Temple.
wait. They'll be like, forget it.
Right. So just put the right price on the bike, which is what we did. So we don't really have to negotiate at all. And then put the products in front of them that they want to buy. Let them finance, pay cash, and get on out the door. And that's what we're doing. And it's making a big difference.
A lot of F&I. I mean, are you doing? You mentioned something about not having an F&I department, or not having to. Maybe that's on the iPad. I don't know.
Yeah. So at our Echo Park stores, you don't. You just have a salesperson, an iPad, and a customer. They do everything right there on their app. They sell warranties and everything. And we've got a 60% warranty penetration, which is well above industry average,
Yeah.
At Echo Park. And we're bringing that thought process in that technology into the power sports business. And so, our F&I PURs are growing. I think, last month we were a little over $2,000 a rattle. And we'll make that better and better as time goes on. Right now, getting the technology and the processes in place so we can get the right products in front of the customers. The old saying used to be get 100% of the products in front of 100% of the customers 100% of the time. That's too much drinking from the fire hydrant. So we want to put the right products in front of the customer so they have a propensity model that allows them to, they're going to probably buy this product because they bought it 5 times on the last 5 motorcycles. Much easier to sell when you have that kind of point of view.
And how many? I mean, this may be too granular or whatever, but do you know were there a lot of returning buyers in this, or were these a lot of first-time customers for you guys that were?
I would tell you that we're looking at, it's about 50-50. We had a lot of first-time buyers coming through, and we first-time buyers to our system.
Yeah.
They may have had a trade, but first-time buyers to our system, and a lot of returning customers that come every year, and because it's Sturgis, they trade their bike in and buy a new one. And that's great. And we've got all kinds of ideas about 1-year leases, 2-year leases, trade every other year, all kinds of ideas that we want to bring to the table one day, as we move forward and we learn more and more about, the power sports business. Again, we're rookies in the business. We're still learning. Our team's still learning. But we know darn good and well that we can bring technology, process, training, upgrade our facilities. That's one thing that we've done in merchandising, things of that nature that really needed a lot of help, and make a big difference.
And so with Sturgis, your Sturgis dealership. So from what I understand, this is the first year that anyone's been able to sell in Sturgis itself, instead of having to go out of town to buy.
That's correct. And you think about it, India, everybody else was there. And we're like, let's just we had a store there now, a Harley store. We were selling Harley merchandise, but just no bikes.
Was that a statute of some sort, or is that like something that Harley wanted to put in place?
To be quite honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. I think that we're probably, when we came in and started looking at it, we may have been the first ones to ask the question, hey, how about having a dealership here so that we can, we don't have to travel, they don't have to travel as far.
Right.
And that made a lot of sense. And what was really fun for me in auto retail business, if you'd have had that conversation, shit, it'd take 5 years to the Harley guys had made a decision like
They're
that.
like, boom.
Absolutely, we want to do that. And so we cemented a lot. We put up huge tents. We reconstructed the store like overnight. And as a result, when the customers started showing up, they're like, lo and behold, we've got an amazing dealership here that we can buy and sell our bikes and service the bikes at. So we bought a big piece of property next door with a bunch of law offices that off go the lawyers, and we got the property. We use that to do deals in and to merchandise and use for parking. And we're going to buy more property around it and, continue to grow the Sturgis event.
Well,
So because that's where all the customers are. If you've been to Sturgis and had the privilege of being there, what a fun event for
it's on
a
my
couple of
bucket
weeks.
list. For some reason, I just that's one that I haven't got. It, consumer stuff. I don't get to as many of those as I would like to. But
you got a permanent invitation that we'll take you and show you around.
You love next year.
Yeah,
my brother-in-law goes, every couple of years. So and he rides out from Oregon. But you mentioned service, and I think that service, if you have more room, can you there's probably a lot of opportunity for service during the event, even.
A ton. I mean, we did year over year for just the month of August. We were up over $600,000 in service gross, and in July $1 million. And so, same stores, right?
Yeah.
And look, there's tons of opportunity to merchandise. Product sales are a huge opportunity and a big lift for us. But you've got to tell the customer. You got to have a great website. You got to have great mobile applications. And you need to learn how to communicate with today's customer. And today's customer communicates well. Tomorrow's customer, if you don't merchandise that way and you don't communicate that way, you're going to be out of business.
Yeah.
And I think that scares a lot of dealers. It scares a lot of dealers in auto retail, which is a decade ahead of powersports in terms of technology.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's going to be a lot of fun for us because we've got that technology and those abilities, and we can bring them into the powersports world and offer our consumers something that we know they want.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, so it does sound like you guys are really on the gas, and I mean, are there plans? Are you looking at more power sports stores and
absolutely
acquisitions?
We bought a few. We did a recent acquisitions with Motorcycles of Charlotte. Yes, but we're definitely looking at more. We wanted to learn the business first.
Yeah.
And that's why we bought Mancuso in Houston. Houston's one of our largest, if not our largest, auto retail market. And so we're all there all the time. We have offices there. So it made a lot of sense to get into the business there. Then Black Hills sort of fell into our laps because we were doing such a good job in Houston really quick. Harley came to us and said, "Hey, let us introduce you to the team at Black Hills. They're ready to sell." We went up and made a deal over a weekend. Motorcycles of Charlotte, because of BMW and their influence there, we're one of the largest, if not the largest BMW dealer in the country. So that by volume anyway. So that made a good connection and an opportunity. And we sort of said, okay, we got our hands on a bunch of stores now. Let's learn how to run them and run them really well. Well, we've merchandised them. We're adding in technology. We're hiring. We're training. And doing all the things that we know we need to do to be prepared to grow in the future. But it's our intent to continue to grow this business and for us to look back one day and say, look, we've created just an amazing power sports business in this industry. And, it's a great opportunity. The margins are good. The people are so much fun. That's the awesome.
Big thing about, I think, that what drew me, because I was on the automotive side for years, and I know I still like automotive. I still, I enjoy it, but I also like the people on the power sports side, the motorcycle side, is what really sold it for me.
It's because they're down to earth, just down. Not that auto retail people aren't, and people want to drive their Ferraris.
Right.
But man, it's fun to just sit and have a beer.
The enthusiast side, I think there's people just get real enthusiastic about.
I do.
About motorcycles and power sports. It's a different thing, then, nothing wrong with the Toyota Camry, but it's hard to get excited about talking about your Camry or, your Chevy Impala.
It's one that look, a car is a must have. In this country, got to have it. Motorcycle or power sports product, it's not a must have. So there's a lot of passion when those customers are coming in, and you've got to be just as passionate as they are.
Yeah.
And when you can match that level, it's incredible.
It's awesome. Well, hey, I think this has been great. I really appreciate you being on and for joining us today, and wish you much success going forward. So hopefully we can connect up here maybe at the next Sturgis Rally. And
yeah, let's stay in touch, Brendan. Let me know. We'd be happy to host you and show you around. I'd be happy to do it personally.
That would be awesome. I would really appreciate that. All right, Jeff. Well, hey, have a great afternoon.
You do the same.
All right.
Thank you much. Take good care. All right. See you.
Bye. If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to connect with us on powersportsbusiness.com.